Hi friends, my name is Angela and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm doing something different today. I'm going to do my first individual book review, which is on 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. I had heard of this book so many times over the years and never really understood what it was about. And it was only just recently that I thought, I'm going to give it a go. I think I might have heard someone else talk about it. And I had recently gotten into Slightly Foxed and they had a plain edition, which is this really lovely little, I think it's a sewn cloth bound version. And it's a really lovely little edition. It was a pleasure reading from this book, and it's quite light. It's little, they call it a pocket size hardback, and it is really delightful. So I decided to buy that and I read it from this particular edition. I'm not going to give away any major spoilers in this review. I'm going to just share with you my thoughts, a little bit about the story, about the books, because there are two books in here, but I'm not going to give away any spoilers. If you haven't yet read it, it'll be okay. Sometimes I feel bad. I don't know if I should wait to watch a review after I've read a book, but anyway, I hope this will encourage you to go read the book and there won't be any spoilers in here. So like I mentioned, 84 Charing Cross Road is generally two books. 84 Charing Cross Road was published in 1971, and then a second book called The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street was published in 1974. But most editions that you buy of 84 Charing Cross Road will have both books in there because they are definitely best mates. They definitely are to be read together. 84 Charing Cross Road takes its name from the location of a second-hand book dealer called Marks & Co, based in London. And that's where the title comes from. That was the location of this second-hand bookstore. And this particular book is a memoir in the form of letters. And it starts in October of 1949, where Helene Hanff, who is a 30-something freelance writer, screenwriter, journalist, living in New York, she sends a letter to a bookseller in London at Marks & Co. And she tells them that she saw an advertisement for them and she's looking for a particular list of books that she just can't find anywhere that aren't super rare editions or marked up school books. The letters are from Helene to Marks & Co. and she ends up corresponding with a man named Frank Dowell. And he is the one who is always coming back to her on behalf of Marks & Co. And the letters are from them, both of them, back and forth over a 20-year period. It's really quite remarkable. They start off quite formally in terms of how they write to each other. You know, it's dear madam, and well, it's mainly Frank that is keeping this very reserved, formal letter writing. Helene is very, very casual from the beginning, very conversational, and her cracking wit really comes through immediately. And she starts to wear Frank down a little bit so that he starts to be a little bit less reserved and become a little bit more relaxed in how he corresponds with her. Helene's wise-cracking wit just jumps off the pages, and we know that Frank enjoyed this just as much as we do as the reader, because we know that he shares the letters with the people in his office. I actually laughed out loud about 17 pages into this book, where Frank had sent Helene a particular book that she was looking for, or maybe something that was along the lines of what she was looking for. And she did not hesitate in telling him how absolutely disappointed and horrified she was that he was trying to pass off this book as something else. It was very funny. I laughed out loud. I can't remember a book that has done that recently for me. And it made me think how Frank might have felt getting that letter himself. It was very, very funny. And as they correspond, Frank sends books to Helene and Helene requests more books in turn. The salutations become more relaxed, and then we start to experience a little bit of real life peppered in there as well, like what it is like in post-war London and Britain, family life and work life as well. There are incredible friendships, not just with Frank and Helene, but with other people in Frank's orbit that come to know Helene as well through these letters. There really is, a lot of people describe this, it's a love story, but of friendship. And throughout all their correspondence, Helene talks of her dream to visit London one day and to visit this bookstore that is such an important piece of her life. But unfortunately, she never visited. She never got to London within this 20-year period that she was corresponding before Marks & Co. was sold and closed or sold on in 1968. So shortly after they closed, Helene had a thought to perhaps publish the letters. She could see a bit of an opportunity. And she was going to, I think, go down the route of magazine articles, but her publisher wanted to go the whole hog and was like, nope, we're going to do this in a book. And it became this runaway success for her. It was published in, I think, in 1970, and in 1971 she finally made her way to London for the launch of the book there. And this is where the second book picks up, The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street, which is her diary account of her visit to London during that book launch. It really is incredible. I couldn't tell you which book I liked more, and it was funny because when I finished Charing Cross Road and I realised that was the end of the letters, I was so disappointed. I really wanted a lot more. But then as I got into the diary and the Bloomsbury Street, Duchess of Bloomsbury Street, I loved it. I don't know if I couldn't choose one book I liked more than the other. So the book 84 Charing Cross Road was a big success in its time. And when she went to London to promote it for the book launch, she met a lot of people that she'd been corresponding with over the 20 years that she was talking with Marks & Co. And she also met a lot of other people through those connections. Both books are really books of their time, and I was fascinated at the implicit trust that someone has for another person simply based on the recommendation. You know, that just because someone recommends you to someone else, that person embraces you because they know that connection is someone that can be trusted entirely as well. So that's something that I just don't think we do these days. I think that we always have a little bit of a guard up. We're not really too sure. But her account in her diary was really interesting, where she met a lot of new people and they just instantly became friends for her. She just developed this incredible friendship with a lot of people coming out of that celebrity she was experiencing from her book, because people simply wanted to be in her orbit. She is a very funny, very witty, very intelligent woman, and I think she was that way in real life, not just in her writing. So in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of this book, I think if you are a book lover, you will like this book. There is such an appreciation for books, and you'll appreciate Helene's voracious appetite for books and for life. I do like this particular letter where she talks about the love she has of secondhand books. Sir, it feels witless to keep writing gentlemen when the same solitary soul is obviously taking care of everything for me. Savage Landor arrived safely and promptly fell open to a Roman dialogue where 2 cities had just been destroyed by war and everybody was being crucified and begging passing Roman soldiers to run them through and end the agony. It'll be a relief to turn to Aesop and Rhodope, where all you have to worry about is a famine. I do love second-hand books that open to the page some previous owner read oftenest. The day Hazlitt came, he opened to, I hate to read new books, and I hollered, comrade, to whoever owned it before me. Her passion for books is really incredible, and if you love books, you will love the way she talks about them. I was really captivated by the life, domesticity, and just the life of post-war Britain, also her in New York, and then going into the 60s and then also in the 70s when she was there to do her book tour, book launch. I really do love books that are of their time, books that are just somewhere that I would never be able to experience. I really do enjoy those books. And I was absolutely astounded by how trusting everyone was of everyone else. You know, like Helene corresponded primarily with Frank Dole. He was the main person that wrote to her from Marks & Co. And I was just astounded at the trust between the transactional relationship that they had, where they didn't know each other. They were across, you know, in New York and in London, and she would send a letter saying, I'm looking for these books, can you help me? And then he would be like, yes, here is a book, I'm sending it to you. And this is how much you owe me. And it would have taken months for this to happen. And that just really fascinated me, how that was how things were done. The writing and the wit of everyone in here is excellent, really, really excellent. And again, it's of its time, but it makes me a little bit sad that my grandchildren's children may never get something like this, because we aren't documenting relationships this way anymore. So that was something that was, I guess I meditated on that quite a bit as I read this, was a feeling of a bygone era that we will probably never get back. When you think of other memoirs that are based on letters, they're coming out of emails now. And I just feel like it doesn't have the same, it's never going to have the same quality as what this does. And we've been relegated to emojis as a form of communication in relationships, you know, like I know that I can go like months, just emoji after emoji, to some of the people I care about most in the world. So it just really made me a little bit sad in some sense, but also very appreciative that this was created out of this beautiful relationship that Helene and Frank had, this friendship, and then her journey there to do the book launch. I was really, really, really appreciated that. I can't really think of any weaknesses around this book, other than the fact that a lot of the books mentioned, I had no idea what they are, no idea what they were about, who they were. They were very obscure to me. There were books on essays or specific translations of Plato, religion, Aesop. There was very highbrow, I guess, but like ancient kind of stuff like that. But then there was also something I related to, in the sense that Helene was definitely a seasonal reader. Spring would come and she would ask for spring related, like love poems, Valentine's Day, that kind of thing. Keats, Shakespeare, Jane Austen. So there were a few books that I did pick up on, but a lot of them were obscure. But I mean, I don't think it was a big impact that I didn't know the books. The fact that she loved them and wanted them so much was kind of interesting, and I was able to read up a little bit about them to find out exactly what was the content that she was looking for, what was she wanting to read. And I think it really made me realize that there are far too many books in this world, and I will never read all of them. I need to be okay with that I just need to keep in my lane and read the books that I like and enjoy, and I'm never going to get to all the books in the world, and I have to be at peace with that, I guess. So overall, I highly recommend 84 Charing Cross Road for lovers of history, lovers of literature, and especially if you have an interest in those post-World War II years, where you can appreciate a gentler and slower era, where it's just so different to what we live through now. I think you'll really appreciate it. There are references to Queen Elizabeth II's coronation, then the Beatles, and I think anyone that enjoys reading letters or diaries will find this interesting. The letters are quite short in length. A lot of them are just single pages. They're not super long. And then the diary itself is really well done. It's very easy to read. The letters are not long at all. Both of the books are really well paced. They're quite fast, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to reading them again. And I think I'll get a lot now I've read the books. I think if I read them again, I'll pick out different things and read between the lines a bit. And a lot of that comes from the wit and the dialogue, and maybe some words that I just glossed over because I wasn't quite too sure of what, I made an assumption of what that meant, but that might have been based on my interpretation in 2024 rather than 1954. So I'm looking forward to reading it again. And it was really, I recommend it if you enjoy reading about friendships in all different kinds and shapes and forms, because I think I mentioned that this has been described as a love story between Frank and Helene, because their relationship over a 20-year period just deepens. They start off quite formal and, well, he is reserved, and then eventually they become the best of friends. At one point she says that she doesn't think anyone knows her as well as he does, and they've never met. They've only corresponded. They're not talking on the phone. So I highly recommend 84 Charing Cross Road if you're a lover of books and you like that post-war era and you just want to experience a different world. I really do recommend it. So I hope this was okay. This is my first book review, and I'm not a book reviewer. I read for pleasure, and I don't know if this is going to go down very well, but something that was mentioned in after the slow reading video I did recently, someone commented and said that it can get very wearisome when every video is a list of 10, 20 books, and that particular person, I think a couple of people said it, that they like the idea of having one book and just having a conversation about it. So I kind of appreciated that perspective, and I thought maybe I think I might start looking at doing that a bit more. And for me, I think it is good as well because for 84 Charing Cross Road, it's going to be another week or so before I do a wrap up of the month. And I actually finished this a week and a half ago. So if I waited longer, I'd probably forget a few things as well. So I might do that a little bit more often, just to keep my finger on the pulse and give you my thoughts as they are, fresher. But thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know your thoughts if you've read this book. What was your favourite part? Did you have a favourite letter? I think if you have read the book, the one that I said I was laughing out loud about was the Protestant Bible, if you know what I'm talking about. But let me know your thoughts below. Are you inspired to pick up the book now? I do recommend the Slightly Foxed edition. It is just beautiful. But any book is going to be lovely. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead, and I will see you soon. Bye.